Hi guys, happy Darwin Day. You might not have been aware that Darwin Day was on February 12th, 2013, but it was, and it happens every year, so next year you get to celebrate all of Darwin's scientific accomplishments, and it comes at a really appropriate time this year because we're just starting to learn about evolution, and so we're going to go over a little bit about who Darwin is and the kinds of things that he discovered. Darwin is considered to be the father of evolutionary biology, and this is because of a couple of theories that he came up with. When Darwin was about my age, or a little younger, about the age that people usually are when they're finishing college, he had thought he was going to be a doctor, but unfortunately he fainted at the sight of blood, as some of you might be sympathetic with after dealing with the fetal pigs. And so he decided he wasn't going to be able to become a doctor, and instead he got a job on a ship. At the time in England in the 1800s, when Darwin was around, England was very classist, and you could only hang out with people that were of your class. So if you were upper class, you could only hang out with upper class people, and if you were lower class, you could only hang out with lower class people. And Darwin was upper class, and the captain of the ship, Captain Fitzroy, was also upper class, and so he invited Darwin to come along so he wouldn't have to eat dinner all by himself. And and by the way, Darwin, you'll also be able to collect a bunch of specimens of animals and plants from all over the world. And so, Darwin goes and he starts collecting all these animals and plants. This is the ship that he was on. This is the HMS Beagle, and it went all over the world on this. You can see the journey plotted out on this map. It went around South America and around Africa and Australia. And Darwin collected specimens from all over the place. He collected a whole lot of insect and bird and mammal species and plants as well. And Darwin came up with a theory of natural selection, which is that living beings with traits that help them survive better in their environment live longer and often produce more offspring.
RTOKai.com.
Natural selection
Takes a long time.
Hey man, you know how every lizard around here is green?
Yeah?
And you know how every time we're on a tree with different colored leaves, we totally stand out?
Yeah?
Well, check this out, man. I can change colors. Seriously. I know it sounds crazy, but it's true. I'm the only one in my family who can do it, man. Here, I'll show you.
Hey, old man. You know all the lizards around here are green?
Yep.
Well, I can change colors. And the chicks dig it.
Good for you.
Check this out.
Hey, wait, hold on.
Hey, old timer. Guess what? Oh, forget it. You'll never guess. I can change colors. Feast your eyes on this.
Hey, wait, hold on.
Hey, you can change colors. So can I. I'm really good at it, too. Oh, yeah. Take a gander at these colors.
I finally find someone I'm physically attracted to, and he's an idiot.
Natural selection
Takes a long time.
Darwin also came up with the idea of natural selection, which is the idea that living beings with traits that help them get a mate and reproduce produce more offspring. Darwin thought about natural selection in the context of artificial selection, which is where human beings decide what traits they want to have in an animal or plant and breed together animals or plants that have those traits. Darwin thought about this in the context of pigeons because those were popular to breed at the time in Europe, but an example you might be more familiar with is dogs. Humans domesticated dogs only 12,000 years ago, and today we have all of these varieties that you can see on this slide. In contrast, insects have existed for 300 million years, and you can see many more types of body plans and varieties of structures than you see in dogs. For comparison, humans have existed for 200,000 years, and if you look around the room at your fellow classmates, you can see in the broader scheme of things, we pretty much all look the same. Human beings also have their own family tree with animals that are alive today. We are great apes, and as you can see, our closest relatives are the chimps and the bonobos. The bonobos are a close relative of the chimps, and then you have the gorillas and the orangutans, and finally the gibbons being the outgroup of apes. There have been other members of our genus in the past, and some people argue that chimps and bonobos should be in the same genus as us today. But certainly people agree that the Neanderthals, Homo neanderthalis, and other human ancestors should have been in our same genus, but whether by interbreeding or by directly killing them off, those other members of the genus Homo have all died out, and we are the only member of our genus alive today. What's interesting about Darwin is that he actually grew up very religious, and he had a lot of conflict about opposing the church with his scientific theories. And during his lifetime, the Church of England did oppose Darwin, but recently an official apology was issued. The Reverend Malcolm Brown of the Church of England said, "We try to practice the old virtues of faith, seeking understanding, and hope that makes some amends." So, in order to have a strong faith, you have to have a strong understanding of the world around you and understand science. And that is something that hopefully a lot of American churches will start to embrace and learn to understand. This is something that I wanted to share with you guys because I think it's very beautiful. This is the graphic from tollweb.org, which is the Tree of Life project, and it's kind of like the Wikipedia of phylogeny, which is the relationships between living beings for scientists. So you probably can't go in and edit these relationships, but scientists from universities can go in and edit the page on their animal and update it with pictures and relationship data as they do the genetics and morphology studies that are needed to determine the relationships between everything on Earth. And what I like about this graphic is it shows, you can see there's a butterfly and a frog and a plant and an amoeba all on this tree of life, and I really think it's a beautiful thing that all living beings are connected to one another in this way. I have a few fun facts to share with you guys about Darwin that maybe Darwin would have thought were a little irreverent to share on his birthday, but that's all right. Darwin actually married his first cousin, which is illegal in a lot of the U.S., but is apparently actually legal in California, although I don't recommend it. Inbreeding does create some problems that Darwin actually may have been somewhat familiar with because a lot of his children were actually kind of sickly. Another fun fact is that Darwin liked to try unusual foods. All of these animals on the slide, the owl and iguana and the panther and the agouti and the armadillo and the bird, all of these animals were tried by Darwin. There were clubs at the universities in England at that time that would buy these exotic animals and serve them as food, and also Darwin tried a lot of interesting foods like the agouti, which is a rodent that lives in Central and South America, while he was traveling on the HMS Beagle.